In this video, we will be replacing the U-joints or universal joints in this 2001 Ford F150. If we take a look underneath the vehicle where the drive shaft meets the rear differential, we will notice that there is a light squeaking noise that is consistent when we are driving in a forward motion. On the other side of the drive shaft, where it connects up with the transfer case, we do not hear the noise as loudly. This indicates that it is probably not coming from this area directly. To prep this vehicle for our repair, I went ahead and put the front of the vehicle on Rhino ramps, and the back end I have jacked up and held with safety stands. This will allow me to put the vehicle in neutral and rotate the drive shaft when I remove it so I can get access to all of the bolts. Additionally, it will help prevent the vehicle from rolling away because there is a slight grade on my driveway, and I don't want the vehicle to land on me or roll away as I'm working on it. With the truck in neutral, I can manually rotate the drive shaft. And using some paint, I'm going to mark the location of all of my components so that when I reassemble them together, they are still in line. I will go ahead and do this on the front as well because I will be replacing both universal joints. I have the vehicle in neutral so I can rotate the drive shaft and get access to all of the bolts. Using Amsoil's metal protector, I will generously lubricate the bolts. This will act as a penetrating oil so that when I am removing the bolts, they should come out fairly easily, and it will reduce the chance of me breaking any of the bolts. I will be using a 12-point, 12mm combination wrench with a rubber mallet to help break those bolts free. This is a bit of a slow process. These bolts have probably been installed for the life of the vehicle. This is a 2001, so they have probably been in there for about 15 years, and there is a good chance that they are very rusted in. You could also spray more Amsoil's metal protector and let it soak in a little bit more, just to make it that much easier. After the last bolt has been removed, we can take our rubber mallet and lightly tap on the drive shaft. Make sure you support it because it might fall down, and you want to make sure that you have a good handle on it so you can easily remove it without damaging any components. Towards the front of the vehicle, we can gently slide the drive shaft out of the transfer case. Again, make sure that you are supporting it so you do not damage any components. I like to then cover my transfer case with a towel just to keep any dirt or debris from getting inside of there. And a rubber band will help keep that towel in place. Once we have removed the drive shaft from the vehicle, we can inspect the U-joints just by moving them around and feeling. On the U-joint that connects into the transfer case, we have very smooth, fluid movement. And on the end that connects up with the differential, if we rotate it, there's very choppy movement and it sticks. Additionally, I can hear a small squeak in there, and more than likely that is the cause of my problem. On our unit, we have several snap rings that help hold everything together and keep everything in place. I'm going to take a little bit of Amsoil's metal protector and lubricate those snap rings so that they will come out a little bit easier. There is about 115,000 miles on this, so it is very likely that they are rusted tight in place. You can first try removing them with needle nose pliers. If you're lucky, this will work. You can then try with channel locks. This will give you a little more power. Hopefully that will work. If they're really stuck, it might be beneficial to take a flathead screwdriver and mallet and knock those free. After that, I'm going to apply Amsoil's metal protector and let that soak into each of those joint locations. To remove the U-joints, I'm going to be using this ball joint / U-joint press set, which I rented from Advanced Auto Parts for free. To set this up, I have placed my ball joint press around my universal joint. As I tighten down the press, the hole in the end will allow the universal joint to move through this. And I will be tightening that ball joint press down with an impact wrench and a 7/8 inch socket. However, unfortunately, I do not have a impact socket, which I would highly recommend using instead of a traditional socket. After cranking on this a little while, we can see that our U-joint is starting to come out. Now, if everything works perfectly, the bearing cap will start to come out of the yoke, and at that point you want to stop and grab a pair of channel locks and work that bearing cap all the way out. That is the ideal situation. Now, given that this isn't the ideal situation and this vehicle has about 115,000 miles, I actually broke the top off of the bearing cap, and now I'm going to have to finagle the rest of it out of there. And then we can work on the next one. And just as the directions stated, simply remove the bearing cap. Realistically, I've pretty much decimated this other side
Once again, because there is so much rust and corrosion on it from being on the vehicle for 115,000 miles. Now I am able to work out my spider, but my cap is still lodged in there. So once again, we'll put a little Amsoil's metal protector on that cap, and we will run our press. And I will use one of my other caps to help push that out. And once finished, we are left with all of the pieces that came out. At this point, we want to clean all of our connection points. So I'll spray a little Amsoil's metal protector to break down some of the rust and the grease in there. And then I'll take a rag and clean those out really good. If necessary, you might want to clean the snap ring groove also. Scrape out any buildup that's in there. We will be installing a new U-joint. This one is serviceable, which means it is a greasable design. Before I install the bearing caps, I'm going to use some Amsoil's heavy-duty metal protector to coat the mating surfaces. This will both protect the metal and help with the installation of my U-joint. So first we're going to remove the dust caps, which house our needle bearings. Next we will install it partially . We will want those bearing caps pushed in far enough that we can install one of our snap rings. To help push my cap down, I will be using my press with a socket that is about the same size as the bearing cap. And I will gently tighten that down just until we get past that snap ring groove. And we will follow the same procedure for the other side.
When finished, it should be nice and smooth, very fluid.
Now on the transfer case side, we also have a universal joint. This one seems to be in pretty good condition at first glance. However, as we look real close, we do see that there is some rust and corrosion. And because this part is already off our vehicle, we might as well go ahead and replace it so that we don't have to service it 6 months down the road. The experience taking this one off was similar in that several of our caps came off and other ones we broke and pieces went everywhere. This one was rusted in pretty good as well. By using a Dremel with a wire brush, we can safely clean the mating surfaces and the snap ring grooves. Additionally, before I install the bearing caps, I'm going to use some Amsoil's heavy duty metal protector to coat the mating surfaces. This will both protect the metal and help with the installation of my U-joint. The bearing cap should slide in easily and far enough that we can get the snap ring in. If it is sticking, you might have it in slightly crooked, or perhaps you didn't clean the mating surface enough for that to slide in.
When installing the snap rings, make sure that they get fully seated in the snap ring groove. You do not want these to pop out as you're driving down the road.
And we'll follow the same procedures for the other portion. And a little more heavy duty metal protector. And we can install it in the same fashion. At this point, we are ready to fill our U-joints with grease. To do that, I will be using Amsoil's synthetic multi-purpose grease. At this point, we have replaced both U-joints on either end of the drive shaft, and we're ready to install the drive shaft back on the vehicle. Underneath the vehicle, we can remove our cover for our transfer case. We want to orient our system so that our paint line will line up with the mark on our transfer case.